What do Jennifer Aniston, Hugh Jackman, Chris Hemsworth, and Terry Crews have in common? In recent years, intermittent fasting has basically turned into a cult. Bloggers say it burns fat, podcasters promise mental clarity, and some biohackers claim that it can slow down aging. And if you believe internet, it all sounds very simple. Just don't eat for 16 hours and your body will start fixing itself. But once you look at the research, it all becomes less magical. So today we're gonna break down what does intermittent fasting actually does to your body, what happens inside your body, does it help the weight loss, and do scientists think that this type of nutrition is healthy or overrated. Interestingly, intermittent fasting became popular just recently. In 2013, journalist and doctor Michael Mosley introduced a diet 5x2. The concept was very simple. Eat less than 600 calories 2 days per week and other days eat normally. The idea instantly became viral. Books followed, many books, as well as the apps. According to the Food Information Council, in 2024, around 13% of Americans tried intermittent fasting. There are different versions of intermittent fasting. The most popular one is 16x8, where you have an 8-hour eating window and 16 hours you should refrain yourself from food. For example, you can have your last meal at 8 p.m. and then start eating again the next day at noon. Alternate day fasting, where you alternate normal eating days with days where you consume very few calories. And there is an extreme version for people who love it hot, an OMAD, where you eat only once per day. But majority of experts considered 16x8 version the most convenient one. And let's break it down why. When you eat, your body uses glucose as the main energy source. But after several hours without food, your body enters into a so-called energy stored mode. What does it mean? That your body starts relying on glycogen. Glycogen is a carbohydrate stored primarily in your liver. When the levels of glycogen drop, your body starts relying on fats. And scientists call this process metabolic switching. And this is the key point. Intermittent fasting helps people to lose weight because it facilitates the process of creating a calorie deficit. If you don't create a calorie deficit, even if you keep yourself to the intermittent fasting diet, the weight loss might not happen. And this breaks down one of the most popular myths that intermittent fasting leads to a rapid weight loss. If you like this type of breakdowns without magic and phrases like lose 5 kilos in a week, consider subscribing. Likes and comments help this video reach people who are also tired of different myths and beautiful stories. And now let's talk about what happens to your weight. So, how much weight you may actually lose? If we look at the research works, the data is pretty modest. Scientists talk about 3-8% of your body weight within 3 to 6 months. So, for example, if we take a person who weighs about 80 kg, 176 pounds, this person gonna lose about 4 to 6 kg within 3 to 6 months. There is also another common misunderstanding. People may mention that, oh, I fasted for 2 days and lost 2 kg. When you hear such statements, most probably they lost water, because when we enter into fasting mode, our body starts using glycogen, and 1 gram of glycogen holds about 2-3 grams of water. You may lose these 2 kg rapidly, but once you get back to normal eating regime, you're gonna get those kilograms back very fast. That's why doctors normally talk about more moderate numbers, around half a kilo, 1 kilo per week. So, in practice, the main effect of intermittent fasting is calorie deficit. It's much easier to create calorie deficit because you eat less often. If you hear statements like, I lost 5 kg within a week, you need to be aware that most probably people are talking about water loss, not fat loss. This is a very popular claim on TikTok and YouTube, and it sounds so beautiful. To be frank, this process really exists, and this is called autophagy. Autophagy is a mechanism where your cells break down damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, or old components of a cell and reuse them to build new cells or create energy. It's not exactly the detox, it's more about cellular recycling. This process is so popular that in 2016, a Japanese scientist, Yoshinori Asumi, received a Nobel Prize because he described the genetic mechanisms of this process. But here's the nuance. Initially, all experiments were conducted on yeast. Later, scientists started using mice for the experiments. We need to keep in mind that the metabolic processes in mice happen 7 times faster than in human being. A mouse can enter an energy deficit much quicker than a human. That's why not all scientific research works can be translated to humans. This one is especially popular in podcasts. Podcasters say that intermittent fasting can help you think clearer. I'm gonna disappoint you. There is no scientific evidence that fasting, especially short-term windows of fasting, can help you think clearer or somehow affect your cognitive function. If we take a look at the research works conducted on mice, we're gonna find that in certain groups there was a slight memory enhancement, but in human beings there was no correlation discovered. According to neuroscientist Mirjam Bloomingdale, short-term periods of fasting, like the model of 16/8, doesn't have a significant impact on cognitive function. Sometimes people say, if 16 hours work, try 24, then 36, or even several days. But longer fasting doesn't necessarily mean better benefits, and sometimes it can be risky. Long-term fasting can lead to dizziness, fatigue, trouble concentrating, and body may also start breaking down, not just fat but muscle tissues. There is another effect. With prolonged energy deficit, the body can enter an energy-saving mode, slightly reducing calorie expenditure, which can slow down weight loss. And that's not all. Frequent or prolonged fasting can increase the risks of gallstones, because bile can stagnate when you don't eat for longer periods. That's why most research focuses on moderate fasting windows around 14 to 16 hours. And most importantly, extended fasting, especially beyond 24 hours, shouldn't be done without medical supervision. On the internet, it may sound like a simple biohack, but in reality, it can be risky. This doesn't mean intermittent fasting is useless. For some people it works. For example, it can be easier to skip breakfast and constantly count calories. It creates structure. It helps to control snacking. There is also something that's not often discussed. In one clinical study, researchers compared 2 approaches: and continuous calorie deficit diet and alternate day fasting. The result, both groups lost about the same amount of weight, so there was no fat burning advantage, but there was a difference. The fasting group lost more muscle mass than the one that on calorie deficit diet. And muscles is not just about aesthetics. It plays the key role in metabolism. The less muscle you have, the fewer calories your body burns at rest. Researchers suggest something very practical. If you practice intermittent fasting, you should pay attention to protein intake and include strength training to avoid losing muscle along with fat. Sometimes you see very bold claims online that fasting can slow tumor growth or help treat cancer. Where does this idea come from? In an animal study, researchers observed an interesting effect. During fasting, healthy cells become more resistant to stress. There is a hypothesis that this could help healthy cells tolerate chemotherapy better, while cancer cells become more vulnerable. In mice, short-term fasting before chemotherapy sometimes improved treatment outcomes and reduced damage to healthy cells. But again, animal results do not always translate to humans. In human studies, things look more complicated. Some small clinical trials suggest that the short fasting periods around chemotherapy can reduce side effects like fatigue and nausea, but there is no strong evidence that fasting slows down tumor growth or help with survival rates. So, most scientists remain conscious. The idea is promising but still under research. And most importantly, fasting during cancer treatment without medical supervision can be dangerous. because patients often need to maintain proper nutrition and body weight. So, what we can actually say? Intermittent fasting is not a miracle, but not a myth either. If we go back, our ancestors didn't have access to food 24/7. There were no delivery apps, there were no chance to snack every 2 hours. And when we look at the key idea of intermittent fasting, to create windows when we don't consume food is not a healthy protocol. It's just life. Our metabolism evolved under those conditions. Today we live in a constant food environment to which our bodies are not adjusted yet. So the idea of intermittent fasting to create intentional breaks between meals is not a fantastic biohacking tool. It's the way to get back to our old patterns. For some people, fasting helps to reduce calories. For others, establish healthy relations with food. For others, doesn't work at all. But the core idea, giving your body regular breaks from food, has both evolutionary and scientific support. And maybe the key takeaway here is not to find out special magic under the 60/8 protocol, but to remind yourself that eating non-stop is not healthy. So that's all for now. Let me know in the comments if you have tried intermittent fasting and what's your takeaway, and I'm gonna check whether my eating window has started or not yet. And that's your cut for today.